So thank you everyone for joining us for our third and final day of our conference, with today exploring food sharing futures. And thank you so much, Isel, for rejoining us as well today from FoodCloud. So the first question I'd like to ask you is if you could just please share some of your reflections and learnings from providing food in the current context.
Yeah, so it's definitely been an interesting, challenging few months for us since restrictions were introduced, particularly in Ireland around COVID-19. And I think some of the more interesting reflections kind of come from the fact that, this was a situation that created challenges in everybody's life and almost simultaneously. But for some people, it created larger challenges where they may have been in a situation where they didn't know where their next meal was going to come from. This could have been a short-term problem because maybe they had to access social welfare payments for the first time. Maybe they found themselves suddenly cocooning and didn't know how to access food. Or it could be a longer-term situation where, somebody has lost their job due to health issues, domestic violence. And what we really saw was that when the community was able to respond and support people through food provision, and then the other supports that almost always follow food, that really helps build a sense of morale, solidarity, and resilience in our communities. Is beyond the instant relief that I'm sure so many people felt when they saw somebody coming to their door offering to support them through a small food hamper to make sure that they and their family had their next few meals. But just knowing that that support was out there and that people cared and that, as communities, we can come together and support each other. I think overall, that just created an incredible benefit and really just highlighted the positive impact that sharing food just as a simple act can have.
It's great. Thank you so much. And I think it's really beautiful the way you underline the positive aspects and what it's shown in our communities in the current crisis, so which we see all over the world. So that's really lovely to emphasize. And speaking of those kind of positive impacts and looking to the future, what would be your hopes for the future of food sharing initiatives like FoodCloud?
I'd really hope to see them expand. I think if there's, another learning from the last few months has been the benefit of having systems and organizations that are set up to help with food redistribution means that if we experience a shock in our supply chain, for example, restaurants closing very quickly, the supply of food that was destined for restaurants all of a sudden having to be diverted. The fact that the food redistribution exists meant that food was, in a lot of cases, quickly being able to re-divert it to charities and community sectors who were then actually able to use it to support those people who have found themselves in challenging circumstances. So I think the benefits of food sharing and food redistribution as we deal with shocks in our supply chain, as we deal with challenges that can suddenly happen upon us as society, I think food redistribution has a critical role, and the more recognition that it has, hopefully the more we will see it expand internationally.
And speaking of that kind of resilience and building these systems and expanding the benefits and the reach of food sharing, what do you think would help enable those futures?
Well, definitely the first thing is awareness. I think awareness of the benefits of sharing food, the different initiatives, organizations, infrastructures that exist already in the world that are having an incredible impact. Awareness of the challenges that we have around food waste and what the benefits of reducing food waste and actually, ensuring that food feeds people through these various initiatives. I think that definitely is one first step. And then we would love to see the introduction in future potentially of policies that actually promote and incentivize better following of the food waste hierarchy specifically. So, it's definitely important that we understand to stop food waste occurring to begin with, but then that where food waste or food surplus does occur, that we do our best to make sure that that goes to people first, rather than to animal feed or anaerobic digestion or compost. And I think a combination of awareness and policies together would really enhance our ability to create national and potentially international networks where we can effectively share food and ultimately reduce food waste as well.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing all your insights with us today. Thanks so much, Isolde.
Not at all. Thank you very much for having me.